Let's further unpack this story now by welcoming forensic and crime expert Mr. Calvin Rafadi. Calvin, it's great to have you with us this afternoon. So we saw how the Olorato social media murder actually sent shockwaves in the country, and various warnings and awareness campaigns around dating apps were actually, of course, put forward. But evidently, we cannot reach everyone.
Afternoon to your viewers. Indeed, this is one of the cases, one who can call it Tabopeste 2.0. So basically, these criminals, they use the opportunity of luring some of their victims on several social media. But once again, I'm one person that I told everybody that we are running out of advices. The social media, blind dating, it's one of the criminal hotspots. So those are now hotspot crime scenes. So the criminals, they are a step ahead, even though one can even tell people that put up measures like share your location, speak to a friend before you go. I mean, even in this instance, some of her friends in Sunnyside, they were shared a live location. But now we are talking something else. It is very unfortunate now. She's no more, and may her soul rest in peace. But once again, it shows that social media is one of the hotspots where these criminals, they target and lose most of their victims. So we will see, even in the future, many girls now who will be coming forward. But another worrying factor is that this very same particular suspect, by the way, by the name of Helder, who's appearing next month on the 15th of October. That's its next appearance in court. This particular guy, he was out on bail already of a case of a rape. So how did he get bail? In the beginning, in the Pretoria Magistrate Court. So I feel that those who were handling this particular matter, including the prosecution, they need to give a statement on why did they grant this man bail.
Mm-hmm. The police did say, of course, Calvin, that they do make the arrests, but somehow the courts just let the perpetrators go. And it's actually interesting how it's repeat offenders that actually are let go, and they go out and actually repeat the exact same crime. So how can such crimes then be prevented or even detected well ahead of time? Does our law enforcement agencies even have the adequate resources to deal with such crimes in their current form, Calvin?
Look, they can only investigate on the aftermath of such horrific events by way of collecting certain evidence, collecting even DNA. I mean, like we are talking in the same area where already other 3 bodies were recovered, and some of them, they were even burned. So it shows that even when somebody can rape a woman, what they do is so that they are untraceable, they even burn this particular woman. So that whenever DNA is conducted for things like semen and certain postmortem criteria, it makes it difficult for the police to trace them. But once again, social media plays a big role. So again, we underline it is a hotspot crime scene. So social media plays a big role whereby these particular criminals, they lure most of their victims there. So girls must be very vigilant not to entertain, whether by saying you want to keep safe, you'll share a location. Those things, they don't work anymore. Now, again, when we were investigating Thabo Beste's case, I had his number, from the investigating officers. I just, used the method of many laymen's people use, which is a Truecaller app. And the number showed that this is TK Mutsepe. But when the police went further now to check at the service provider, the number belonged to some old woman whose identity was stolen. So many people, they rely on open source such as Truecaller app, and then they start to trust the person that they are talking to the right person, only to find out that they are talking to, this particular criminals, because they feed the Truecaller app on how to lose some of their criminals. So they are step ahead. But with the police, it is very unfortunate. In some instances, they end up chasing their own tails, especially if you follow a suspect when you want to follow them on a particular cell phone towers, or even the number being registered under that particular person. We end up going to the wrong people, not arresting the right guys, because of they dismantle this phone, they use banner phones. after they've committed this particular horrific crime. So on this one, again, we call on the police to match the DNA of this elder guy to the deceased, and after being positive, that his semen is also there, he must then be answerable even for the rape case.
And we're actually wondering what his bail conditions are, Calvin, because we've seen, of course, in some foreign countries where if you are an offender, let's say for rape cases, and you are currently on bail, you do get very strict bail conditions that will basically forbid you from interacting with, of course, those that could be deemed your potential victim. But I mean, since it's Women's Day, Calvin, and you and I have just recently spoken on a totally different matter about how it is that criminals are so sophisticated. They target those low security individuals. We're just talking about a public entity, you and I, the other time. And how do then women actually even identify these dating apps, criminal perps through these dating apps? Because like we said, this guy just put a picture there. In fact, he can even use somebody else's profile and put it there and present it as himself. And then the person can go on a date thinking this individual has been forthcoming.
Yeah, that's why I call them the hotspot crime scenes, because of some guys, they put up even pictures of which is not their real pictures, but they know that this can be a spec that can attract as many women as possible. They claim to be single, they claim not to have a child, they are somehow belong to a particular religion, and women who, I wouldn't call it desperate, but who are looking for that particular criteria and a match, they end up, entertaining them on those social platforms. And then the next thing, the conversation goes private. The next thing, then it's the meeting point now. Now, come the time of the meeting point, these horrific animals or criminals now, they tend to rape this woman. They tend to take their belongings, and performing such horrific crimes. So one can say, as vigilant as one can be, nowadays it is a criminal hotspot. We do know this. Some of these platforms are owned and serviced, and there's revenue to some of those who have established them. But it's very unfortunate because there are no key measures to protect some of the victims. So it's a no-go area.
Calvin, thank you so much for your input as well as that sound advice to women. I hope women, particularly on this Women's Day, are listening there. Mr. Calvin Rafadi, their forensic and crime expert, saying please stay completely off those dating apps, because we've seen the measures that where you share your location, this is also not assisting those women from being spared from danger. That was Mr. Calvin Rafadi, a forensic and crime expert. And of course, we're talking about the dangers of dating apps.